watching the Bethel College Football Show.
Shire in at QB, throws the outline. It's jumped by Trey Palmer. He's going to take it for a pick six. Touchdown, Bethel. He catches it in midfield. Braden Francis from 91 yards from Zach Esau.
Now here's your host, Dan Page, with football coach Terry Harrison.
Hello and welcome to the Thresher Football Show. I'm Dan Page alongside head coach Terry Harrison. The Threshers 9-1 in the country and number 10 in the latest NAIA polls as they get set to play their last regular season game before it could be playoff time. Who knows? Into the unknown at this point after this week. We'll find out Sunday where the Threshers go as far as playoff situation. And so it's going to be interesting winding down to the last week of the season here on the Thresher Football Show. The Threshers fresh off a victory 54-21 up in Leavenworth at St. Mary. And I've never been up there before, and it was just kind of a unique kind of place. It looked really nice. It just, the fans have felt like we're right on top of you there a little bit.
Yeah, no, they didn't have a field for a long time. And when they built that thing, they have that. It's like, press box and one-sided bleachers and everybody's together. But, it makes for a cool atmosphere where you're a little bit on your own on the visitor side. But, man, I felt it was awesome that, just another scenario where we outnumbered the home fans, or at least it seemed like it from our perspective. And then we were able to get, obviously, our, get that ninth win in conference, which is really good. And, having not played that program in 2 years, and then the talent that they have on their team for us to go out there and really handle that game early really well, and then finish it out the way we did. It was a really fun day. Really proud of our guys, and then we move on to the next one and a non-conference game, and then looking at the possible playoff scenario moving forward. So just really proud of our guys, and thought a lot of guys played really well.
Yeah, it was definitely a long day. We left and it was dark, and we got back and it was dark, and it was just kind of one of those things. It was a good thing that the Threshers got that extra hour of sleep a little bit to recover from that one. But you were right, Coach. Get out of the gate up 19-0 at the end of the first quarter. What can't you say about what Chance Scurry did? Ended up a 4-touchdown day, and I think he's like 1 from tying Zach Esau's rushing career touchdown record, and then 2 from breaking it. So with that in mind, we're heading into the final regular season game. But the Threshers were up 33-0 at halftime, and then St. Mary got a little bit of adjustments, it seems like, and scored a couple times in the second half. Yeah,
and the hard part is, I think everybody was a little frustrated in the second half. But what kind of happens when, our kids play, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this, but our kids play really well in tough, hard scenarios, right? And so when we get in tight games, we know that's when we play our best. Well, sometimes when you play a team that's struggled kind of like they have, we talked about, their talented defensive line, and we talked about their very talented receivers. That's what you and I talked about the week before. And then when we got up, the margin we were up, it almost makes a team like that relax and be like, oh, okay, here we go. And then they were a little more comfortable. And then you got to see some of the talent that they had. I think it was more of a case of that, but our kids did really well. And they did prove they have some very talented players. Honestly, in a lot of positions, our evaluations were they were as talented in some positions as anyone that we played against. And I think it was their senior day. Man, it looked like 30 to 40 seniors or something like that. Yeah. There's a really old team. And so, they definitely presented some challenges, but I feel like our guys did a really good job of that. Of handling that, and and then they made some of the catches they made were some circus crazy catches that they hadn't made all year, even though we were covering them pretty well. And sometimes you just tip your hat and you just keep playing, and I felt like we did a really good job of that. And so they were definitely talented, and honestly, it made me feel good about our evaluation, because the things we kind of previewed and we were concerned about is exactly what they had. And so for our guys to handle that so well for 85% of the game, I think that was is why we played so well and won.
Yeah, trading scores in the second half. They scored first, and you guys get a chance to score a touchdown. They score again. You guys get a huge touchdown pass to Braden Francis from DJ Sears, and then they scored again. And then you guys had to get the ball back to them, but a mistake. Denzel Dixon picks up a fumble, runs it back 41 yards for a touchdown, and that was pretty much all she wrote with the 54-21 score. And Coach, I want to get your thoughts on this because it's not every day that a flex phone team throws for more yards in a game than they run for it. And you guys threw for 251 and then rushed it for 248.
Yeah, and I think it might be a first for us. But the funny part is it was a high completion. We've thrown that many passes in a game, we just haven't completed that high of a percentage. And so, man, I thought DJ did really well. And more than anything, number one, he was 7 of 8. For however many yards he threw for in touchdowns. But, that we had it's not even pass protection issues, but, in that third quarter, those guys were just running upfield, and they were just hard to pass block. And he got some pressure, and he got hit hard a couple times.
Yes.
For him to come back from that, so even more than the stats, for him to come back from that and then just step up in there and fire those things on target at that high completion percentage, man, it tells you how tough he is. It tells you how talented he is. And for me, that's what I'm most proud of, even more than the stats, which are really cool. Man, the fact that he was able to, take some shots from some pass protection issues and just some talented defensive line issues, and then to come back and step in there with confidence and fire the ball away. I think it's just, what else can you say about that other than, man, that's a tough guy deal, and, man, really proud of him, and it just speaks to who he is and the type of talent he is, and, man, so proud of him for that. And it was huge to me to see that.
Absolutely. Despite getting sacked 3 times, got back up, threw for 2 touchdowns and 235 yards, like you said, 7 of 8 passing. So those are 2 really big touchdowns. Found Braden twice, but there were so many other times where it was completions to Cameron Harrison or Tanner Gallier or Braden Francis that were huge and really just kept drives alive for you guys. And so you need that at this point of the season, that ability when you get. And I know you don't always like to show that on film, before postseason, but I think it keeps the defense honest.
Yeah, no, you have to be able to do that, right? If you're going to get these teams, and they didn't have one defensive player deeper than 7 yards from the line of scrimmage. And so, with that, sometimes you're almost beating your head against the wall trying to run the ball when there's just so many guys in the box. And so that's kind of the difference now, when you have a young man like DJ that's playing as well he is in the run game and distributing the ball, and he's great with the ball in his hand, so electric runner. But now, what are you going to do? I mean, you just can't do that. And that's why you saw that commitment there in the third quarter. It probably got a little frustrating when we were giving up sacks, like, why are we throwing the ball? But that was the deal. We knew that they were playing a very risky defense. They were gambling a lot, and we just knew, look, it's just a matter of time before we're going to hit a long touchdown pass. And so we were able to do that. And so, you do trade some down and distances for that when you can potentially give up a sack, because they did have so many defenders that close to the ball. But when you do that, you just can't defend the deep pass. And I think, we were able to see that. And I was proud of our coaches for, sticking to it, because it was the right decision, even though, it was hard to pick up. We don't major in pass protection here, and so there were some things that were kind of unique to pick up, but we were able to adjust that on the sideline. And then, take advantage of it, and still having confidence in our guys to run, get open, catch the ball, and having confidence in, DJ to step in there and throw it well. So that's, one of those deals to keep in mind when it can be frustrating on a Saturday, that, everything we do is by design, and it worked out really well.
Absolutely. And then, it seemed like at times, we mentioned chances, 4 rushing touchdowns on 83 yards, 13 carries. There are times they just got so frustrated with him, scoring touchdowns on him. They tried to pick him up a few times. I'm like, that's a big fella and everything. Yeah. But he kept defense honest. He had a big run from Cameron Harrison, 42 yards, I think it was, second drive of the game that, opened things up. He had 58 yards rushing on 3 carries. And then Mason, 4 carries for 51 yards, took a shot one time. And, it was just kind of one of those things. And just, again, spreading the wealth for your guys. And, you definitely need that, especially coming into these final weeks of the season. So Braden Francis ended up with 3 catches for 154 yards, Tanner 3 catches for 59, and Cameron with 1 catch for 21, Mason with a catch for 17. Big catches that needed first down situations for the Threshers. Defensively, you guys do a pretty good job as well. Phillip Williams is your leading tackler, a safety for you guys with 11 tackles. Didn't get a sack on the quarterback whatsoever, but you guys seem to get everything done.
Yeah, no, exactly. It felt like at times they were popping long runs, but they ended up running for, I think, 120 yards or something like that. I mean, it's kind of, that's the way it is. When you play as good a defense as we play, and the high standard we have here defensively. When a couple runs leak out, it can seem like like the world's ending or something. But no, I thought our guys did a good job of containing their back. That kid that ran, number 21, who ran as well as he did, he hadn't done that all year, and so it was kind of a coming out party for him. So, but I felt like our guys did really well. They were getting the ball out. We probably missed some opportunities at some sacks, which can be frustrating. But it's the nature of what you do when you're going to play an aggressive style of defense like we do, and we're going to commit to pressure. Sometimes you miss those pressures, and I felt like that was a little bit of it. But our guys, man, they did awesome. They were on the field way too much. That was the hard part. We had some punts in the so the first half we did a good job of controlling the ball. In that second half, we scored, so it was some punts, and then when we did get out there, I think we scored on the first play of a series. I mean, our defense, they were playing and playing and playing and playing, and it's just hard to play that much. And so it's kind of what we talked about is playing complementary football at one point this season. Maybe in that third quarter we didn't do that as much, and so I thought they did a really good job of keep battling. They did create some turnovers with Denzel's pick, that scoop and score, and so if our guys stay on the field long enough, they're going to get the ball back. And I was proud of those guys for doing that.
Absolutely. Then you have, of course, Phillip Williams with the interception to return 53 yards. And every time I talk to him after the game, he's like, "It's my legs keep giving out on me." And I'm like, "You'll get it. I'm sure you'll get it. Keep after it." Kind of one of those things, because it's never a bad thing at all when that happens. But interesting stat, Josh Siebold, the nation's leader in tackles for loss, did not have one against St. Mary, interesting enough. So, you guys get it done on defense. Obviously shutting them out in the first half, 33-0, and then rolling on to a 54-21 victory. Tried a late field goal there at the last second, and it was kind of one of those things. If you get it, great, right? Yeah, no,
it's just one of those opportunities. We haven't had that many opportunities to work on like late game scenarios like that, especially where you're going to get a field goal. And so look, we're trying to we're going to go down and play a really good quality opponent, which we're going to talk about really soon, and then looking at potentially being on the road for the playoffs. And so if we're going to do that, there's a good chance we get in a scenario where we got to run that field goal team out with no timeouts and try to get a game-winning field goal. And so for us, anytime we get an opportunity like that, which doesn't happen very often for us because of we've been pretty successful, we're going to take advantage of that and get our kicker and our special teams unit, that rep when we get that opportunity. And so it looked like maybe it went in, but maybe it was just a hair outside. But love that opportunity. Our guys rose to it. They ran out there and got set and got that kickoff before the time expired. And so it was a great opportunity to work on that scenario.
Absolutely. The Threshers go to 9-1 on the season. It's 7 straight wins for the Threshers at this point, and trying to control their own destiny in this last week of the regular season with the West Texas A&M football team hosting Bethel, their second NAIA team of the season. We'll talk more about West Texas A&M when we come back here on the Thresher Football Show.
Thresher fans, get ready for the 2021-2022 school year by becoming a member of the Bethel Booster Club. Your membership impacts all athletic programs by paying for experiences last year, such as the Threshbees Award Show, postseason experiences and postseason tickets, the Hall of Fame banquet, enhanced live streaming equipment, windscreens at Thresher Stadium, improvements at Weedle Field and Ward Tennis Center, and new wall mats inside Thresher Gym. Be a part of Thresher Athletics history in a booster club that has grown 500% in the past 5 years, over 4 levels of membership plus a parent level. Join the Bethel College Booster Club today to help student athletes live out life-changing experiences. For more information, go to bethelks.edu/booster-club today.
Welcome back to the Thresher Football Show. Dan Page alongside head football coach Terry Harrison. The Threshers 9-1 and number 10 in the latest NAIA polls as they get ready for the next couple weeks. Will be interesting. First, it's West Texas A&M, and the Buffaloes coming to this one off a win last week, and we got to see a little bit of them, a little bit trying to follow online and things like that. But West Texas A&M out in Canyon, Texas, hosting the Threshers. They have a really impressive stadium, from what I saw, and it should be a tough game. Yeah, no, it's going to be a great game, and it's going to be a really cool environment. I think that was. When we first initially started talking in the spring, because we both had this, week 11 bye week, and what do you do as a coach? They actually had the same dilemma that we have. Like, do you really want to end your season 1 week early when everybody else in the country is playing? And they didn't want to do that, nor did we. And so, so
when we looked at them, talked to them, and you start researching them a little bit, and they've kind of been trending up over the last 3 or 4 years as far as getting better every year, in their conference and then nationally, and then to see they have this new stadium that's, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old or something like that, but if you could do a small college stadium perfectly, they probably did that, all right, and so it's going to be so fun for our players and fans, just a great game day atmosphere, and so, man, I'm excited for that. It's going to be a big time field, whatever that means. But definitely something that I'm looking forward to as a coach, and it'll be as fun of an atmosphere as I played in. And then, knowing it is a quality opponent and somebody that's going to make us better. And like you and I've talked so much about over the last couple of years, committing to playing teams that are quality to prepare us for playoff competition. Because in the end, our goal is not simply to make the playoffs. We want to start winning games in the playoffs, and to do that, you got to play playoff teams, and so our playoff level teams. And so for us, we maybe not week 11, but they were the only available option, and so we're going to take that game and go play in a really cool environment. But more than that, it's one of those deals that it does align with the vision of our program, the goals that we've set forth for ourselves, and so just a huge opportunity for us against a really good team in a really cool environment.
Absolutely, get back in the state of Texas, get to get some family, a lot of families, a lot of players from Texas. I know from different parts, but certainly try to get them, making the trip up and everything to Canyon, Texas. But also, if you have a chance to get to see some recruits if you're down in that area, I know that's an opportunity for you as well.
Yeah, we've got 2 committed kids that are actually from Amarillo, slot Trey Brown, and then Kenyon, who's an O-lineman, and so just great opportunity for us to get down there, and so we're extremely excited about it. Our kids love it. The benefit of being in our conference is there's not a ton of travel, which is nice, when you have a family like me. But on the other side, it is fun to get on a bus and go stay overnight. We're going to practice in Yukon, Oklahoma, where we practiced the last time we went down to Texas. And so, to break that trip up. But, there is something special about going on a road and staying in a hotel. And our kids do so well with that, like we did last year against Lindsey Wilson, right? And so it is preparing us for, playoff games and future travel scenarios. And so just a really cool opportunity for us, a really cool experience. And, they're really good, but we won a lot of football games around here, and so we our kids certainly know how to win, and I know we'll go give it our best shot, and we're pretty excited about that.
The Threshers at 9-1 tied the record for most wins in a season in program history. First time ever, though, back-to-back 9-win seasons for Thresher football. Record-breaking years the last couple years, and even a few years ago, the last 3 years have been certainly top-notch for Thresher football, and there's so many things that's chalked up to, Coach, and definitely a lot of credit goes to you and your staff as well. But when you get set to play Texas or West Texas A&M, Division II school, you never know what you're going to get as far as the team's going to be good. They're going to have just a little bit more maybe talent than what you have to some degree. But what have you seen from them so far?
Yeah, I don't even it's not that. It's just that they are well coached. They've done it a little different. They have a lot of transfers on their team that they've gotten from elsewhere, and so we're a development program, and we're going to get these high school kids and develop them over 4 years, and that's what we've committed to, being a former high school coach. But on their side, they do have a ton of. It seems to be they've really attacked this transfer portal situation, which we're all aware of, and so. They just have talented kids, but no, more than anything, what you see as far as difference is just they're really well coached. That everything's going to be a little tighter, and the seams to run the ball in are going to be a little tighter than they would have been in the past, just because they have bigger people and longer kids, and so. It's it's one of those deals. Our kids are going to rise to that challenge. I don't necessarily know that it's it's not better or not. It's just a different type of person, right? It's just a little bit longer, a little bit taller, a little bit longer arms, type of stuff like that. But outside of that, there's 11 kids on the field, and there's only so many gaps. And our kids, they really know our schemes really well. I wouldn't trade our players for anyone. And I think our guys are going to go out there and play really well. And so I'm excited for that. And man, we have such a great game plan. Probably as thorough of a game plan as we ever put together. We work really hard around here, so we want to win every game. But we have worked extremely hard as a staff, probably more so than even a playoff game to give our kids their best opportunity to succeed. And I think I think we're going to do really well. And like I said, we can go down there and win that thing. Man, a good chance to host a playoff game. And so what's the benefit? That's what it is, right? This great playoff environment. Man, go win that thing, and then you're going to have a way better opportunity to host a playoff game. Not guaranteed, but potentially. And that's our goal. And so. so, outside that, we want to make sure we represent Bethel College in a great way. And man, this brand of Christian football warriors who aren't scared of anybody. And that when you say that, you better live up to it. And for us, when you put Jesus' name on your program, man, you better be excellent. And I know our kids are going to go and be an excellent product on the field and an excellent representation of our families in our college.
Absolutely. The West Texas A&M University football, their home games average nearly 7,000 fans per game. So biggest crowd you probably will ever coach under in college unless you go up a level, Coach.
Yeah.
But, it's going to be interesting. Definitely, you like the sense sometimes when you get chills in a game, even as a player, because it's just like, you're playing in an important football game. Obviously, they have some different players and talent and everything. Their quarterback, Nick Gerber, thrown for almost 2,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions on the year. Can also run the ball a few times. I think he has 5 rushing touchdowns there. So just kind of scheme-wise, what do you see from them?
Yeah, they're a lot like a lot of teams in our conference. I would say offensively a lot like Southwestern as far as their style of play. But, man, what they have is just a great, great offensive line. I mean, those guys are big and physical, and they move really well. I think their skill guys are very similar to what we see on most Saturdays as far as their level of talent at receiver is a lot like the top-end teams in our conference. I think their quarterbacks, like the top-end quarterbacks in our conference. But I think the difference, when you talk about a separator, what separates them from someone who would see on a normal Saturday is definitely their offensive line. Those guys, they're big, they're long, and then they can move. And so, it's a lot like Lindsey Wilson's offensive line. I don't like comparing people, but it is certainly a lot like that as far as their size, their athleticism. And so, man, we're going to have to play really well up front to kind of manage that and then make sure that, they're going to get some pretty exotic blitzes. I promise you that we're going to make them deal with that. And the challenge for them will be, we don't feel any pressure for our defense necessarily. We want to go apply as much pressure on them as possible. And so for us, that's going to be, they're going to get it from about every angle possible and about every gap possible and every blitz combination that we have. And so, if they can manage that, hats off to them. But certainly we know it will pose a huge challenge because they've seen nothing like what we do on defense, and it's one of the reasons we do what we do. And so I'm really excited to see that as far as our defense versus their offense. And then defensively, I know we'll talk about that, but their head coach is a defensive guy. He's been coaching football a long time. And they just fit things up really well, and they're really well coached. And so the hard part is they're really well coached. The good part is they're going to do what they're supposed to do, so they give us an idea of maybe what we might see. So I'm excited for that challenge.
Obviously it seems like they have some guys, that can tackle as well. They have a defensive back, I believe, with 6 interceptions on the year. So at that level, that's pretty impressive as well. But definitely seems like they have some guys and maybe some depth to them on defense as well.
Yeah, that's what you point to, right? And they are very deep, and so, man, I really like their inside linebackers. Number 45, I think his name's Cameron. I think it's 31 is the other. They flow so hard and they scrape and they go and they're very physical. And then defensive line, they do a good job of reading and moving, and they're big and long. And probably as big and long a defensive line as we've seen. And so, man, it's gonna be a huge challenge for our offensive line. But like I said, our guys, man, we play like we mean it, and our guys are gonna get after them. So that's really cool to see. And then, man, if what we've done with the development of our passing game now, and then what we do in the run game, I think we pose a pretty big challenge for them and something they have not seen, this year. They have had a flexbone team in their conference in the past. Eastern New Mexico, actually friends of ours. So, they have seen flexbone 2 or 3 years ago, but nothing, everybody's got their own style, so nothing quite like we're doing. And so that's going to be, the challenge is can they kind of negate what we do, which is a little different than anything they would have seen this year or expected to see. I'm assuming they didn't even know we were flexbone until this week, to be honest with you, so I'm sure they weren't scouring over film. But that's going to be the challenge. And I tell you this, what our kids have done, every week you say it, and last year we really did have the best week of practice we've ever had last year. Well, I can tell you, we just put together the best 2 practices back to back that we've had since I've been here. And so, man, when you can stack wins like that, you're going to give yourself an opportunity. And I can tell you, our guys are going to show up and play really hard, and it's going to be just a great opportunity to showcase who we are, and I'm excited about that.
The Buffaloes are 6-4 and 5-2 in the Lone Star Conference with 2 straight wins. They're 4-2 at home. Wins on the season include somebody you've played before, Texas College, 73-0. They lost at Texas Permian Basin. Win against Western New Mexico. Beat lost by 8 to number 5 at the time in D2, Colorado School of Mines. Lost by 3 to Western Oregon on the road. And then wins over Angelo State and Eastern New Mexico, 44-24. Loss at Texas A&M Commerce, and then since then they beat Texas A&M Kingsville and Midwestern State, who was a ranked team in the Division II level. So, definitely a good quality team, 6-4 and 5-2 in the Lone Star Conference. But the Threshers and the Buffaloes meeting for the first time that I can remember in history ever. Whatever you want to say, you never know who you're going to cross paths with, of course, with scheduling and things like that, Coach. But it's an 11 a.m. kick. For live stream stuff, it's going to be a little bit different with NCAA things. So, if you really want to watch the game, you might have to shell out some cash for that. So, but if not, you can pay attention to social media. We'll try to get updates from the sideline. I'll be there as well from the Thresher Game Day Twitter account as well. So it's the Threshers and the Buffaloes, West Texas A&M and Bethel College. Never thought you'd say those two schools together, and here you are. So should be interesting. But looking forward, Coach, there's so many things depending on this weekend to decide the future for you guys. And the biggest thing that I can think of is the Kansas Wesleyan, now up to 4 or 5 in the nation in the NAIA polls, given if you look at the media or the coaches polls. And then, Southwestern's jumped up to, I think, 13th in the country at this rate. So it should be certainly a really big game. It's senior day for Kansas Wesleyan, and then Southwestern's not your average opponent. They're going to go in there and make it a really good game. But do you have any thoughts on that game going on just a few hours start after you guys?
No, I think that's one of the ones we need to be watching, right? And so how do you don't. I guess I don't root for anybody but us, but they're definitely that does. There are some playoff implications there, especially with the automatic bid situation. And so, in our conference, we get one automatic bid, and that is the conference champion. And then if you have potential ties for a conference championship, there's some tiebreakers. Mm-hmm. Last year, we won the tiebreaker because it was us and Avila, so we got that automatic bid, and Avila almost made it. Well, this year, we cannot be the automatic qualifier based on just it's math, right, on some point things. And so, if Southwestern wins by 7 or more, they would be the automatic bid, and we would all be conference champions, 3 of us, because we would have all beaten each other. If Southwestern wins by 6 or less, we would all be, Kansas Western would still be the automatic bid,
right,
and we would all be conference champions.
Yeah.
But if so that's the deal. And then obviously if K-Dub wins, then it's a moot point. Kansas Western would be the automatic bid and conference champion, and then likely a better scenario for us. So if you want to, I don't root for anybody but us, but if you want to root for someone else, Kansas Western winning probably makes a clearer playoff picture for us. And then, we've spent a lot of time, Coach Hoops, who's Tony Hoops, our athletic director, we've been in the office and drawing up all these scenarios, and we've talked to a lot of people throughout the country that are involved in this process. It kind of boils down, that's a big game to see how that plays out. It's not a deal breaker, but, Kansas Western win, it makes it a little clearer. And then, Dickinson State up in the North Star, they play Waldorf, which is a tough game, and that could potentially open up another at-large bid. So those kind of the 2 games that if you really want to follow something, Waldorf, so the Dickinson State, so Waldorf beating Dickinson State would benefit anyone looking for an at-large bid, not just us. And then the Southwestern Kansas Western game, Kansas Western, winning would make a clearer picture for us. So that's kind of the 2 things we're looking at. But outside of that, we're number 10 in the country. Remember, the media poll does not have any effect on the outcome of playoffs. It is on the coaches poll, which is done by coaches from every conference. So we're sitting at 10 in that regard. And then there's another one that no one really talks about a ton, including the media generally don't understand this part, but there's an ARC ranking, which is kind of regional rankings. Mm-hmm. And so there's 4 ARCs. We're in ARC 2. And so a combination of the coaches poll and that ARC ranking is kind of what decides the playoffs and the matchups. And so those are things we're looking at. Generally in the past, an out-of-conference game does not help you, nor does it harm you. That's kind of the general feedback from the NEI, but we are dealing with people who make this decision, and humans can make mistakes, right? Just like we all can. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. So I feel very confident saying if you look historically across the NEI, we're sitting at number 10, and we're, You would hope that a big win against a Division II opponent would bump you up, but honestly, in the past, that hasn't. And then on the other side of it, if you drop one, that doesn't either when you play these out of division games. And so, there's just a lot that remains to be seen and a lot of games to be played. But that's kind of what we're looking at. The more than us, even in our record, and I know people follow this, and I don't want to ramble forever about it, but there's also 3 teams in the top 8 that are looking at large bids. That's what makes it weird this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even us, it's those 3 teams in the top 8 that aren't going to be conference champions. So, and then you throw us at 10, it's a really bizarre scenario, probably the most bizarre playoff scenario in the history of the NEI. And so how that shakes out, I don't know. We'll know Sunday. So.
It's going to be competitive, but one factor that if I had to sell the Threshers to anybody on is, Kansas Wesleyan, they're number 4 in some polls, number 5 in others, and you guys only lost to them by a touchdown. You play them now, you could very well, win that football game as well. I mean, it's just different circumstances altogether. You played them early in the year, you play them late, opposite, who knows what happens, right? And so, I think you guys just, all along since that loss, I kept thinking you just, kind of have to make sure they go up high and then, keep doing what you guys had to do to take care of things. But it's going to be interesting. I know all sorts of scenarios that could happen. I'm sure you played out all of them as well, but I think folks are ready for a decision in all of this and just, you figure out what's next.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And, like I said, that's kind of what we talk about. If you're going to cheer for anybody, cheer for Kansas Wesleyan, as much as we hate doing that probably, but, and cheering for our conference is good. Honestly, I hope all 3, I hope 3 teams in our conference, I hope us, Kansas Wesleyan, and Southwestern get in. That doesn't look like the best opportunity, like as far as really likely, but it's great for the conference, right? And so no different than when we pull for our conference to win non-conference games. We want to beat everybody in our conference all the time.
Right.
But it is good for our conference to have success, right? And so, as much as we want to beat Kansas Wesleyan, and I'd get on a bus right now and head up to Salina with our guys if we could. It is good for us, for those guys to do well. And so, the higher they get up, the better it is for us and our conference overall. And so, that it's just one of those deals. So that's kind of where we're at. And like I said, we will know Sunday. That's when the rankings are the after Saturday's results. All these raters that we talked about, these coaches across the country on the Raiders committee, and these ARC rankers, they will get together on Sunday morning, and they spend hours and hours hashing out and going over resumes. And so we feel like we have a pretty strong case. And then we'll find out, and then you get a phone call, and then you watch the selection show, and it's kind of bizarre. That's kind of how it goes. And so, we're meeting. I'll tell you this: we have a team meeting scheduled for Sunday because we're planning on getting that call. And so
Absolutely.
That's kind of where we're at, and we'll just go from there.
Last couple things, we're still monitoring records as far as stuff going, and things as far as like career rushing yards, career touchdowns. Chance Scurry definitely with those. Still monitoring single rushing yards in a season kind of a thing. So watch out for social media, things like that. If those things happen, they're definitely spectacular. No better deserving people. We've been checking our record books like every week. I feel like myself and the athletic staff here at Bethel College, as well, Tony Hoops and Colin Lautenstock, and we're just trying to figure out, okay, is that a record? Because there's so many data that we're missing from some of the years, and so everything. So we're paying attention to that at the same time. But nonetheless, we're excited for this football game this week. It's the Threshers and the Buffaloes, West Texas A&M, hosting the number 10 team in the NAIA. I think that's the highest ranking Bethel's ever had in football, if my memory serves me correctly. So that's fantastic as well. That's where you guys kind of started the year, and now you're back to it, despite everything going on. So it'll be interesting. 11 a.m. kick from Canyon, Texas, and if you can't make it down, you can watch online through the West Texas A&M stream. I think you will have to pay for that, but nonetheless, catch that football game any way you can. So for Coach Harrison, I'm Dan Page. If you're going down, safe travels, and we'll see you in Texas.